Okay, welcome everyone to the Pro Trade Room Plus. We're here for building permits, housing starts, and Canada CPI. My name is Lee Goldstein, the Trading Director at 10 Minute Trades. Please remember, I'm not a financial advisor. All the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. Okay, everybody, welcome, and let's talk about what's going on with these two reports this morning. So we've got Canada CPI and we've got building permits. And I do want to welcome everyone who's watching us on YouTube. Thanks for joining and really appreciate the attention. So first things first, let's take a look at our DMM, or I could tell you what I know to be a fact about these reports. So the reality is this. Um, I was thinking about not doing the stream because these are not good reports to trade. But then I realized, we don't always show a stream about what we do if a report may not be worth trading. Sometimes when you're in the trading business, like we are, education, there are times when you're recommending that people don't take a trade because maybe a trade is just not performing well. Because what we're looking at is the quality of the performance on an event. How often does this event trade well over and over and over again? That's what we're looking for. We need to see, is there a possibility that we're going to have a profit on this event? Canada CPI has not been a good event to trade for the past year. It has not generated profits almost, not every month, but most of the months are set up. The orders have been very large because the safety was important on the event. So today we've set up much tighter, much more aggressive orders, and that creates extra risk. Canada CPI is a report. It has not been working well for quite a while. Let's take a look at our sheet. So it's a trap trade, all right? So when we have a trap trade for an event, what we look at is we create something called a spike sheet. This spike sheet goes back to October, more than a year ago. And it shows it didn't reverse. November, more than a year ago, it didn't reverse. April, it didn't reverse. But what you're seeing, these numbers represent how much did the event move when the news was released. And then what we're looking at, what kind of reversal was there after the news was released? Because what we're looking for, it's a trap trade. A trap trade is a specialized reversal trade. So we're looking for a reversal to take place after the news is released. The other thing that we need is consistent numbers. In other words, each one of these numbers, each one of these dates is a month because this is a monthly report. So last month we had a 17 tick move and virtually no reversal. In September, we had a 23 tick move and it didn't reverse even as much as our move. It only reversed 15 ticks. In August, we had an 18 tick move and it had a very good reversal. That was one of the good ones. In July, we had a 50 tick move. Now, keep in mind, in August, you had an 18 tick move. In July, and in June we had more than 50, and in June it actually moved more than 60 ticks. That creates a complication when you have an 18 tick move and then the next couple of trades are 60 and 50 ticks. What you have is inconsistency in the moves. We want to see a little bit closer to the way it was back in March. March, you had a 29 tick move. February, you had a 42 tick move. 23 in January, 26 in December. Only one of them was a little bit bigger than the others. 3 out of 4 were relatively close to each other. So that means we have a setup that we can use that might be safe. If there's a big inconsistency in the move on the report, then it's very difficult to set up a trade, because how are you going to set up your orders? If one month it moves 60 ticks and another month it moves 20 ticks, it's extremely difficult to have a safe setup. So Canada CPI, besides not always reversing all that well, is also inconsistent in its moves. So we're not recommending that people trade Canada CPI at the moment. We need to watch it, see if our new setup makes sense, see if our new setup is safe, and that's really the reason that I would not recommend trading Canada CPI. It just, I set it so that the tiers are quite aggressive, and I don't know for sure if it's too aggressive, if we have a safe setup, but because of the history of the way the report's been behaving, it's really our recommendation not to trade it. It's just not returning profits. If a report doesn't give you profits, why would you want to trade it? So what you do is you test it. So today I have a setup that I'm going to test on Canada CPI. Let me show you what that setup is. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with us. It doesn't mean that we don't know what we're doing. It just means that it's difficult to find the setup for an inconsistent report. That's what happens. So we don't recommend the breakout because liquidity is often a problem on this report. What does that mean? It means that when the report, at the time of the report, when we're looking to take our trade, what happens is the orders dry up in the market and you don't get good fills. Instead of getting filled in the middle of the candle or in a place where there's still profit available, you wind up getting filled at the bottom of a candle, at the bottom of the move, and then it reverses and stops you out right away. We do not recommend this report as a breakout because it just hasn't been working well. If you look at the DMM, February, March, and April, now that's going back a ways, there were three consecutive breakout type reactions, but there were only 2 wins in the last 6 months. So it's not a safe report to trade in terms of getting profits. This report is just not bringing profits. You don't trade the reports that don't give you profits. You don't need to. There's many other reports that we like to trade, but I will test the trap trade. So I'll click on strategies. I'll click on trap trade. My tiers are going to be 15 and 30 on the tiers. You could do 15 and 28 if you wanted to. Tier 1 is 15. I'll do 28 on my second tier. The stop is 25. Position 1 is a 1. position 2 is a 1. The time of the event is 8:30 if you're using the old software and you have 5 seconds of prep. You should be using the new software though, and the activation is 8:29:55. Then I go down and I scroll down and I go to label, and I'm going to label it Canada Trap Canada. That's my label. And I'm going to trade it in sim. I have no interest whatsoever in trading this live. I have multiple sim accounts so that I could trade Canada on one account, and then I can trade building permits and housing starts. Let's talk about that report in a moment. I can trade that in a separate account. Now, look at building permits and housing starts. Building permits and housing starts has been a report. What's interesting is the history of building permits and housing starts is kind of interesting because we've been trading this report probably almost since I got here. And I'm going on my 8th year with 10-minute trades. 8 years. Look at the DMM. There was one winner back in April. Sometimes this report doesn't trade it doesn't trade by itself, or it doesn't trade in a way that we can use building permits as the event we're looking at. In other words, sometimes it'll trade with unemployment claims. When it trades with unemployment claims is more important right now because the market is much more concerned about the jobs and the Fed than building permits and housing starts. Although I will say that there's always interest in building. What's going on in the housing market? Are they building houses? What's going on? But look at the quality of this report. March stopped. April, one winner. July stopped. August, dull. Let's look at that August report just for fun. If I have it, let me see if I have it. I do. Let's see what happened in the room. Did we trade it live? Did we trade it Memorex? Did we trade it Sim? So in August, it was trading on a Thursday with unemployment claims. Very difficult to determine which report had the biggest effect. And we'll double check and see if it was in fact trading with building permits. We'll check and see if it was trading with unemployment. I want to check that. But here's the event. Here's the move. Gold actually had a very, very, very fast move and a reversal. The NQ popped to the downside and then immediately changed direction. Let's see if we survived that or not. Now, it was trading with Philly Fed, Thursday jobless claims. All the news was one direction that day. All the news was one direction that day. And the NQ, which was the instrument we chose to trade it, was a stop out back in June. Now, the gold move, if you look at it in sim, because we didn't trade it live. Gold is another option for this report. It was a pretty fast move. Gold, depending on how you got filled and how the instrument moved on smaller time frame charts, that would tell you if gold was a winner or not on that event. It was a pretty quick reversal. You can't always trust sim to tell you if a report was a winner. Sometimes I'll make a note in my journal whether or not I had a winning trade back in August. So let me take a look. Sorry, that was June, right? We said that was June. So I'll go back to my journal and take a look and see, did I make any notes that might have told us what happened to everyone in the room? So it was June 20th. And building permits and housing starts was absolutely a loser for the NQ. And don't have any notes. I don't have any notes because no one traded gold that morning. So I'm not 100% certain if gold worked in a cash account or not on that particular event. The move looked like it would totally depend where you got filled, whether or not that was a good event to trade. The point is this: building permits and housing starts is inconsistent. It's been inconsistent for years now. It's not like it's been a money-making report. I've been here for 8 years. It's never
So we're
been
10
a
minutes time now
report
at
that
the
we've been
bottom of the
looking
hour. We
forward
see the release of the Canadian
to
CPI
trade like
numbers for
so
the month of
many other
October.
good
So
reports.
Canadian
So
CPI
I'm just going to test it again.
year over year. The
Um,
forecast is
I
1.9%
don't
on the
know if
prior
Calvin is here. Calvin
1.6%.
has had some interesting ways he's been trying to use the MNQ on some of these
So the range
reports
is seen
that
at
don't
2%
work
to
well
0.8% for Canadian CPI year over
as a
year.
regular
Month over
breakout
month,
on the
the forecast is
major
0.3% on
instruments.
the prior minus 0.4%,
Now, if you
with a range of
notice,
0.4% to
right now the gold
0.2%
market
expected.
is just
Bank of
beginning to
Canada give the core
open.
CPI
The gold
numbers year over
market,
year. The prior was
820
1.6%.
is the
Month over
open of the
month was a
gold
flat read of
market. It's
0%.
selling off.
The Canadian CPI
Nothing,
sim forecast
not
0.4%,
bad news or anything
expected to
like
remain
that.
unchanged,
That's just
and
the
the
gold
median
market
forecast
opening.
0.4% from the
And
prior
I do want to
0.3%.
thank the folks
For
that are
color, the
watching us
prior
on
read was
YouTube.
2.1%.
If you want to
For
hit the
core
like
CPI
button,
month
we'd
over month,
really
the prior
appreciate
was
it. So you
0.4%.
could also
In the
trade
US, we
gold
also
on
see
this
their housing
report.
starts
I
numbers as
actually
well. This data is also
prefer
for
gold
October.
to the
Forecast at
NQ
1.335
on
million
building
on the
permits
prior
and housing starts.
1.354 million, with a range of 1.4 to 1.277 million expected.
Let me get
The
the
change
right
month over
sheet,
month is forecast at
get the
minus
DMM,
1.5% on the prior minus 0.5%. The building
and we'll
permits
set up
number
our
forecast
trade.
1.435 million on the prior 1.425 million, while the change month over month is
So
forecast
here's
at
the way I would set
0.7%
this up.
on the prior minus
Double
3.4%.
click JOBB version 11. It's a breakout trade. I'm triggering the trade at 8:29:59. Now there is an extra trade tomorrow morning. We will be in the room at 6:15 for a quick target trade. A quick target trade, 6:15 tomorrow morning. If you're interested, target, not bad. Definitely worth a shot. Definitely going to give it a shot. Hang on, folks. All right, so 8:29:59. We have an eight bracket. Eight bracket. We've got targets. Look how small the targets are. 4 and 8. 4 and 8. That shows you that this report, it doesn't move. It doesn't move. It had one winner. 31 ticks. 31 ticks. That August winner up in the air was a maybe. Maybe. Um, I would use a little bit bigger targets. I would go 6 and 12 on my targets just for testing for gold. The bracket, the stop is 15, and target one stop move, I would go break even -3. If it hits the first target, I'm moving my stop to break even -3. Break even -3. All right, we have a bracket of 8. Targets anywhere between 4 and 15. 4 and 15. I'm labeling the trade GCBRK. All right, apply it. I'm going to save the template. BLDg building permits, today's date. So I have a template saved. And I'm going to put the time to 0 and see what my brackets look like. I'm going to manage my brackets.
Order submitted. Order
Way
canceled.
too tight. See how tight that was? It's because the market's been moving a little bit. I need room to manage my trade.
Order submitted.
Okay, there's my brackets. I'd like them a little bit
Order
wider.
canceled.
All right. So I've got a gold trade, a gold breakout set up, but I also need to redo the time. Okay, I'm going to put my time back to 8:29. And I'm not trading this report live. I do not have faith in this report that it's going to make us money. If it does make us money, it's inconsistent. It's not
Inside
one
on the
of the
button now, at
reports I
the bottom of
trade
the hour, see the
regularly.
release of the Canadian CPI numbers for October. Year over year, forecast 1.9% on the prior
And I'll
1.6%,
also be
range of
watching
3% to 1.8%.
and
Month over month,
managing the
forecast
trap trade
0.3%
on
on the prior
Canada.
minus
Here's our
0.4%, with
news.
a range of 0.4 to 0.2%
Okay,
expected.
here's
Month
our
on Monday,
news.
with the core CPI reads, year over year, the prior read was 1.6%. Month over month, the prior
I like to
read is
put my
0%.
indicators
Canadian
when
CPI trim,
the
forecast
instrument is not
2.4% from
that
the prior
volatile. Like
2.4%.
right now,
Canadian
Canada,
CPI median,
their
forecast
currency
2.4%
futures,
from the
not
prior
that
2.3%.
volatile.
The
So
common,
net
over a prior
change
read of 2.1%,
display,
and the core
instead of being
CPI month over
points,
month
I'll
from
put
the
it
prior
on
read of
ticks.
0.1%. For the US, we also see their housing starts and building
Canada
permits
has
numbers
only
for
moved
October as
7
well.
ticks
Housing starts, the forecast is
from where it was
1.334 million
last
from the
night
prior
at 6
1.352
p.m.
million,
Eastern
with a range
time.
of 1.4 to
So the Canadian dollar,
1.377
now it may
million
have moved
expected.
up and down during
Housing
the
starts
night.
change, forecast of minus 1.5% on the prior minus 0.5%.
All
For
right,
the building
everyone. So
permits
we've
number,
got
the
two
forecast is
events. We have a
1.435
trap
million
trade.
on the prior 1.425 million, while the
Make
change
sure
month over
you can
month is
see
forecast of
all your
0.7% from the
buttons
prior minus
on the trap
3.8%.
trade. I don't see my combine button. My chart's not wide enough. Now I see my combine button. My chart's wide enough. See? I didn't see my combine button. So I needed to widen my chart. So if I want to combine my orders, I can. Okay? All right, so we have a few minutes. Canada's CPI, the most recent video I have, we don't have a lot of time. I'll do this quick. Back in September. Now, we didn't trade it, but you could see there was a pretty good up and down move. Our tiers were rather big, and our chart was spread pretty far apart. So it may not have been a fill, okay? It may not have been a fill, but it would be a fill most probably today. It was a 17 tick move. And our trap trade back then was probably at least 20. I believe it was 20 and 40, somewhere in there. So that would not have filled. Now you can see that gold has some volatility at the moment. Keep in mind also that my charts are spread apart, so it looks a little busier than it really is. It's not all that volatile. I'll be managing two different trades. The breakout with gold, it'll mostly take care of itself. The Canadian trap trade, the curiosity is the setup aggressive enough? Are the tiers small enough? I believe yes. I believe yes. We've used a setup that's pretty aggressive. $15 and $28. All we need is a 15 tick move. That's not a lot. If you can't get 15 ticks of movement on a CPI report, that report is probably not worth trading, right? Would you
1
agree?
minute remaining. I'll bleed
Would
you
you
the
agree to
Canadian
that?
CPI year over year.
Can everybody else see the commentary? Chantal can't see the commentary. All right, 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 5 seconds before the news comes out, the tiers will show up on Canada. If my charts are spread too
5
far,
seconds.
I'll shrink them. All right, so I can see all the orders, but I don't want them so scrunched that I can't
Order
manage the
submitted.
trade.
Order canceled.
Now, that was such a
2%,
fast
2%. That's
move.
higher than forecast at 1 spot 9%.
It's going to
0
be,
spot
it looks
1,
like it's
0
going to
spot
be a
4%, 0 spot
perfect
4%. Higher than
trap
forecast,
trade.
0 spot
If
3%.
it'll
For the US, the
reverse,
Order
housing starts number
submitted.
1 spot 311 million, 1 spot 311
we'll
million.
analyze
Housing number
gold in a
1 spot
minute.
334 million. Looking to the market, some strengthening CAD following their CPI numbers. Again, CAD
We'll
trading
analyze
back to
gold in a
CPI.
minute.
Going to the rest
That
of numbers now.
Canadian
US building
trap trade
permits,
had
1 spot
burst up,
416 million, 1 spot
filled both
416 million.
tiers,
Lower than
and
forecast, 1
now we're
spot
waiting for a
435 million.
reversal.
Canadian CPI trim at 2.6%, 2.6%,
Moving my first
higher than forecast,
order to the
2.4%.
wick, not the
Canadian
wick, but the bottom of the
2.5%,
candle.
2.5%,
Second
higher than forecast,
order
2.4%.
above the low
The
of the
common at
day.
2.2%, 2.2%. While the core CPI month over month at 0.3%, 0.8%.
That was a
So again,
very
broadly there,
good
Canadian
move
CPI numbers coming
from
in higher than
Canada, but now
expected.
we need a
Strengthening CAD coming
reversal.
through here.
If we look at the news here,
Also seeing comments from ECB spokesman
Canada's
saying it's not
CPI,
blasphemy that rates
I
could go
think
below the neutral
much
rate.
higher than expected. I don't think the market is going to like that.
Also making notes of the
It
prior
looks like
revisions into
Canada's
US data.
CPI
The housing
is
starts
higher than
revised down
expected.
slightly to 1.353 million from 1.354 million. Building permits revised down slightly to 1.425 million from 1.428 million.
Now, US building permits are a little bit, they look a little bit higher than expected. Sorry, wait a minute. Let's see. Building permits lower than expected. Lower than expected. Housing starts lower than expected. Not outrageous numbers though. Not super big offsets. Canada CPI, I think, is a bit higher than expected. A bit higher than expected, and we're not getting a reversal. Not getting a reversal.
Order filled.
Gold, I want to look at the video because I did not see the fill. I'm not seeing a great fill. Sorry, I'm not seeing a great, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not seeing a great move that was worth profiting from. Let me turn off the breakout. Now, there could have been a third trade. If you wanted to set up a third trade,
Order
I suppose
cancelled.
you could have, right? You could
UK
have had a
Foreign
third
Secretary
trade
Lemmy says there's nothing new on the UK's approval for
because
Ukraine strikes
gold
in
is
Russia.
having a definite change in direction. I did not set up a third trade. I'm not going to cry about it. And it's partly because I had two trades to deal with. The Canadian trade, all you can do here is wait for a reversal, right? That's all you can do is wait for a reversal. It's not taking place. It's not taking place. So not a great setup, not a great setup. So I had a
Swap yield
terrible
puts in a
trade
3%
this
chance of a
morning
50 basis
on
point rate
Walmart
during the rate cut in
earnings,
December, down
and
from
I put a
38 before
magnet
the inflation
trade
data.
on the YM,
Also seeing comments from China's President Xi says that
and
China wants
it's
to resolve
getting
the EU's
back
tariffs
most
on
of my
EVs via
money
dialogue.
from this morning's Walmart
The
trade.
loonie jumping spot 2% following that Canadian CPI report.
So I do believe the YM is going to test the low, and that's what I was trading for on the magnet trade. Sometimes a magnet trade might take an hour. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at the video. And I'm not going to say goodbye to YouTube yet. Let's look at the video just to see what that gold move looked like. But you could see why I don't like trading this report. This report, building permits, has not been a moneymaker. Now, let me see. Sometimes people send me texts, people that aren't in the trade room, and they say, "Oh, I did this. Hey, I did that." But that's not what I'm hearing. Okay, so let's take a look at the video and see what we got going on here. How did gold move? We can get rid of our clock. Now, I hope people listened to me and didn't bother trading this report unless you had your own custom way to trade it. Watching gold on the left. Here's our gold setup. You can watch Canada. Canada just shot up in one direction. Shot up in one direction. Filled both tiers immediately
China
and
posted
didn't
earnings
have a
Canadian
good
CPI
reversal.
October report
Gold,
increased
you could
slower than
see,
expected.
had a mediocre move to the downside, and then it just went up and stopped us out. So unfortunately, it just did not have a good setup. Didn't follow through in any way, shape, or form. And Canada, you have to just wait and see if you're going to get your reversal. You can shrink your stop if you want to the area above the high of the day. But now it's just a question of waiting to see if Canada gives you a reversal. If you don't get a reversal, there's not a whole lot you can do. You could exit the trade now for a moderate loss, $175. It's not a giant loss. Overall, Canada did not, it's just not reversing. So, it's in sim, it's not a live trade. Did not recommend trading it. It was not recommended to trade this event. Gold, what's interesting, looks like it's going to go test the high. That's what gold looks like it's going to do. Looks like it's going to go test the high. All right. These are some of the things you look at when you're trading. I want to thank everybody on YouTube. Hit the like button. We're going to close out the stream. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you all. We have another stream coming up this week. Keep an eye on your notification bell. Hit that notification bell.